Justin Bieber just shared what he considers to be the definition of cheating. And it's a statement that's getting met with a lot of suspicion from fans. He shared this statement on a Twitch stream recently with some friends. And he basically said that if you think about a woman with lust, that is the same thing as committing adultery against your wife. And I just want to show the clip before we talk about it. He's, by the way, if you're listening rather than watching, in a giant pink hoodie, and like they have In-N-Out all over the table in front of them. So this is like post mukbang.
See, that's
philosophizing.
The thing. Like, he'd be asking me, he's like, "Are you lusting after someone that's not your wife?" I'd be looking at the food, and I'd be like, "Does that count as lust?" Like,
yes.
Is that
yeah?
Then yeah, I'm calling
staring at a cheeseburger lustfully
like,
is cheating.
Is that gluttonous? That'd be gluttonous. It's not the same thing. All right, let's listen here.
If you even think of a woman with lust, it's the same thing as actually doing it. Committing adultery or whatever. Like, it's the same thing. So it's like if it even just crosses your mind for 1 second.
So that was the 15-second clip, taken out of context. I don't know how it came up, but he also followed that by saying if you treat a man with anger or something, it's the same as killing a man. I don't mean to laugh. Obviously, Justin Bieber isn't the most learned, well-read, or eloquent person alive.
The not being eloquent part can be endearing because it comes off as more authentic than somebody who starts speaking in, some... Like, it's more endearing than Jaden Smith being faux intelligent.
Yeah, because Jaden Smith thinks that he's like the second coming of, Buddha.
We need to get them together.
Justin Bieber,
they used to hang out.
applaud Justin Bieber for this because he is trying to share the Christian faith. What cannot be disputed is that that's at the very least his intention, even if it's not being heard the way he intended it for people to hear. It is actually rooted in the gospel, and I guess if you guys don't know that, I'll read it. It's from the Sermon on the Mount. You have heard it said to those of old, you shall not commit adultery, but I say to you that whoever looks at a woman with lust for her has already committed adultery with her in his heart. So that is biblical teaching. Justin Bieber, in his own words, is trying to share that with his friends and with the people watching on the stream. And even though it was maybe worded clumsily, I think
he was standing on business.
I think he was standing on business.
Yes. Yesh in the chat says, bro is just standing on business.
Literally.
It's
we
not
have
clocking
a 20 from Pop Culture Junkie. I so hate to say this, but it's not who can come up with the best movie idea and the best script is to who can come up with the best pitch for all the private equity clowns who have no taste.
Yeah, okay, so I actually did a video today on this article. This should come out on Thursday. About how the real life heist at the Louvre would be a great way to finally get some of these networks to pick up the white collar revival, which they've been shopping around. All the creators are back on board, but they haven't found a network that wants to do it. And apparently USA Network doesn't want to do it again. But the Louvre, then you have your pitch. You're like, look at what happened in the real world. And you have an actual incidents to tether your pitch to try and get them you kind of have to help the executives figure out what the idea is and formulate it in their brains. So he's right.
So Justin Bieber is weirdly getting a lot of flack for saying this. Here were some of the responses. This is so false for anything in life. You can't control your thoughts. If you act on them, yes, that's wrong, but a thought doesn't mean anything. And another response said, this will actually make you effed up. Accept that you're a man and accept that we are hunters. You don't have to act on it, but an innocent, quick lust thought is fine. Stop torturing yourself. Another one said, impossible standard to maintain, but I bet girls love to believe this lie. Another one said, he is saying it because he does it. So some people think he's overcompensating for his own behavior. There are multiple ways that this can get misinterpreted. So he's saying looking at a woman with lust is the same thing as cheating. Obviously, Justin Bieber knows that those are not the same actual things. he's saying that the root sin behind both of these things is the same.
We're past words are violence to now thoughts are violence.
Well, they are in a way. Being that the root sin behind fantasizing about cheating on your wife and cheating on your wife in reality is the same root sin. That's really what people are saying.
Okay.
So it carries the same moral gravity. It just doesn't look the same on the outside. And I think that's one way that he's getting misinterpreted. Other people are trying to accuse him of cheating on his wife, to discredit what he's saying. Even if he were guilty of cheating on his wife, which we don't know, that wouldn't discredit what he's saying. It would just make him someone who falls short of his moral ideals, which is all of us. We all fall short. So that's not really a rebuttal of what he's saying. And I think he's sharing this because he's been kind of on a kick of like posting Bible verses. He was posting a lot of scripture just a matter of days ago. And he's been an outspoken Christian for quite a while now. But this reminded me of the backlash to one take from Dennis Prager. I think this was maybe last year.
I've never heard this before. You kind of gave me like the cliff notes at the beginning. What is it?
So Dennis Prager was in the middle of some sort of debate with Matt Fradd on Pints of Aquinas about porn. So Matt Fradd he's been talking about the damaging effects of porn for such a long time. He's like pretty much an expert on the subject. Dennis Prager, on the other hand, is trying to argue from his point of view as a religious Jew that looking at porn is not a form of infidelity to your wife, and it's not immoral to lust over women in porn or women that you see in the street. It's that in his moral framework, something is only wrong if you're actually doing it. Okay. And it got to the level of absurdity that Prager said someone looking at simulated child exploitation material is not wrong. He thinks that it is not immoral because if you're lusting after the child who, I guess in this scenario, like doesn't really exist, it's like a computer generated child.
We're talking like AI.
Whatever.
Okay.
He's literally saying that that's not immoral. And people saw this and they were like, what the fuck? Like, this is crazy.
Is this one of these things where it's like, look, a lot of the people in these spaces, they live in such a theoretical world because they're constantly discussing ideas that they lose sight of the practical application of everything they discuss in the real world?
No, I don't think that's the case. That's the case for what happened there. I think that conversation really illuminated for people how radical the Christian message is. And really, even if you're not Christian, you're still imbibing Christian ideas and a Christian moral framework if you live in the West. Most people actually still agree with the idea that fixating on lustful or violent thoughts is immoral because it damages you and your relationships in less tangible ways. It's harder to accuse someone of something that they've done in their heart than what they did outwardly. But most people, whether they identify as Christian or not, in our culture at least, do agree with that idea in principle. And that's the same idea that Justin Bieber is expressing here. It's just a lot of the responses were really disingenuous and quite cruel to him. However, I should point out some sussy things that Justin Bieber has done lately. This is just actually a couple of days ago. He was at a concert with his wife, Haley, and longtime friend, Kendall Jenner. And here he is hugging both of them, like, from behind. I don't know what's going on here. This is just, like, most people wouldn't think that this is normal. Okay. Right? Am I right? Most people, like, wouldn't think that's normal for their husband to, like, hug them and their friend like that, like, from behind.
Depends on how open the...
It was like a Coldplay moment.
Yeah.
A little bit, but not hiding it.
Actually, yeah, that could be heavy meme material.
I don't know. And then it was pointed out that Allegedly, Justin Bieber had a relationship with Kendall Jenner when they were younger, and it obviously didn't last, but now he's with Hailey. Back when Kendall Jenner was on the cover of Vogue, he congratulated her and called her beautiful. That was
how long ago?
I think back in 2016. Okay. And then when Hailey Bieber, his wife, was on the cover of Vogue a matter of months ago, he said, we got into a huge fight and I told her she would never be on the cover of Vogue. I was sadly mistaken. And
I forgot about that.
That speaks volumes. There's also a recent video that he posted with Sexy Red, where he's hugging her from behind and then ends up like kissing her. Not like on the lips, but like kissing her on the cheek, I guess. Like this is
top of the head, yeah.
Just a little weird, and then
he's on the drugs. Okay,
I just figured it had something to do with substances.
And that's he's not living up to his own ideals.
I'm just saying, someone not living up to their own moral standards actually doesn't make them a hypocrite. What makes you a hypocrite is holding yourself to a special standard, and everyone else has a different standard. Do you know what I mean?
I feel like that's just such an obscure way to view the world now that just most people don't jive with, that aren't religious, right? The idea that like they believe that if you're going to preach something, you should always, in their mind's eye, they're thinking you better always match up to that. Otherwise, you're kind of preaching to people without, holding yourself accountable for your own actions. And that's, I would say, in a lot of ways, obviously not in respect to this situation, but that was probably part of the backlash against aspects of Christianity in the 2000s when we really started becoming a more secular nation. They felt like a lot of people felt like they were being preached to.
That was the 2000s.
I mean, that's when I think of, and like, because I was that was when I was in high school in the early 2000s, and that's kind of what I think of it is like. You're in the late 90s, people are telling you can't read Harry Potter because it's satanic. MTV is satanic, and then you see all the bad things that all of the mega church pastors get caught doing and stuff like that, and that a lot of people at that time, obviously we've kind of come back around. There's obviously very much a Christian revival right now where you realize that a lot of people are probably coming around to understand that just because these people didn't live up to what they preached doesn't mean that the teachings are bad.
Right.
But at that time, I think people had a hard time getting past the hypocrisy.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. What they perceived as
what they perceived
as hypocrisy.
Hypocrisy. And sometimes it is. Sometimes those, mega church pastors actually do hold themselves to an entirely different moral standard than other people.
That especially for people who may not have been raised religious, but just have like a general understanding of like the human condition and how they would want their friends to behave. That it felt like you're making a lot of, and that's not even a good thing. That means that led to where we are now, which is like, as long as it's not hurting anyone, what do you care what anyone is doing, right? Like taken to its farthest conclusion, obviously it hasn't necessarily done great things for society, but you get an idea of where it started.
Simply put, we're all against murder, right? But if you murder somebody, that doesn't make you a hypocrite. It just makes you a murderer. It just means that, you probably thought murder was wrong to begin with, and you still think it's wrong, but you murdered somebody.
Yeah.
You're a murderer. You're not a hypocrite. We have a 20 from Shane H. Wilder. Justin is speaking the truth. Yes, intrusive thoughts we cannot control are not sins, but they become sins when we do not banish them from our minds. The more one banishes these thoughts with disgust, the less they have them.
Okay, here's the problem with that, though. The idea being that it's the same thing as cheating. Well, in the real world, cheating isn't a 3 strikes you're out thing. Cheating is you do it once and you're out. So the idea is like you have the intrusive thought once, and you're going to hold yourself to the same standard that your partner would hold you if you got caught physically cheating in the real world. Like,
no, that's not the biblical interpretation of it.
I understand.
The intrusive thought carries no moral weight.
But that's how people are going to perceive it. Like,
well, they shouldn't, because I think that's kind of a dishonest way to read what he was saying.
I don't think
maybe he could have done a better job of explaining himself.
Yeah,
he could have done a better job explaining it, but I got the message. But
what did I say? What did I say to you? what did I say to you when this started? I said anything somebody says to the contrary is going to be taken as a self-report. And when anybody gets put into that position to have to answer a question for something like that, they're going to find the person who's posing it to them. They're going to be like, look, you better be airtight in your beliefs. You better have no, there better be no leaky faucet. You better live up to your ideals 100%. Because if you want to put me in a position to answer this question, you better have risen to that occasion and lived by your morals every step of the way. Otherwise, they don't find that it's fair for a person who's just as fallible as they are to put them in the position to answer a question like that.
Well, that's why I think it actually means more coming from Justin Bieber, because at least as far as we know about him, he has been open about basically having a past with sex addiction. I don't know if he would put it like that now, but he says that he used to have a legitimate problem with sex. This was from an interview, I believe, back in 2019. It was his remaining vice, an addiction that had long since ceased to provide him any pleasure. Not having sex, he decided, was a way for him to feel closer to God. He said God doesn't ask us not to have sex for him because he wants rules and stuff. He's like, I'm trying to protect you from hurt and pain. I think sex can cause a lot of pain. Sometimes people have sex because they don't feel good enough, because they lack self-worth. Women do that, and guys do that. I wanted to rededicate myself to God in that way because I really felt it was better for the condition of my soul, and I believe that God blessed me with Haley as a result. There are perks. You get rewarded for good behavior. So the last part is a little bit iffy. I think he feels blessed that he did actually find love after being like a casual hookup seeker for years at a time. I think that's all he was trying to say there. But I mean, in reality, it's also part of the Christian worldview that you don't get rewarded for good behavior, and that's literally
your cross to bear, so to speak.
That's explicitly told to you in the Bible that like you will be hated for being a follower of Christ, and you're probably going to suffer for it. Like that's part of the program, That
seems to be more and more true for you guys lately.
You know what? It is what it is.
It's one of the things I found to be most interesting. I don't think that I've ever, like, until I had this job and I met people like you or someone like a Seamus, like I had never understood just like how much conviction somebody had to have to, believe something in face of a whole lot of pushback from traditional society as it is now.
And it has been worse in the past, as you said, in like the 2000s, perhaps.
Yeah, it's coming back around in a way, with society being what it is now. A lot of people feel lost, like we've talked about men feeling lost these days. They're looking for answers. But yeah, absolutely.
Well, guys, share with us in the chat, what's your personal definition of cheating?
We'll have to know.
It's now a subject of heated debate.
Thanks for watching. Listen to full episodes of Pop Culture Crisis on Spotify.
Keep up with us on social media and make sure you subscribe and ring that bell so you never miss the show. Bye, guys.